be able to quickly do localization so that their internal teams can understand terminology, so that the login features say the right things, so they don't say something incredibly offensive, because we've used a bit of slang in Drupal that we didn't understand made sense, or was offensive somewhere else, to localize the content and then to be able to translate it. And there's really great services out there now, like localizedrupalorg. So for a big PR team that's going to push out, let's say, 5,000 pages of content a year, some of that content is product descriptions, and they're happy to export that. And what they can do is just put it out in English. Localized.drupal.org gets notified, or sorry, not. I can localize is a company, and they'll take that English content and they'll just say, please translate it into 30 languages. It goes out over the wire. That company outsources it. They have all their translators on contract. It gets translated into 30 languages. Automatically gets updated to the site. Other stuff that's legal or other things like that, they'll translate into those languages, or really the marketing teams or the product owners in those different countries will translate and stuff like that. But that support for being able to help those businesses grow internationally is absolutely critical. Drupal's big, getting big and bigger. There are sites out there that are claiming to do a couple 100 million pages per month right now. Mostly they're using the same techniques that I talked about that Disney uses, where they're basically one server, they publish static pages. Maybe they're publishing it to Varnish, but more likely they're just writing out to a content delivery network like Akamai, and then Akamai's 5,000 servers around the world are delivering those Drupal pages, okay? And then they can scale enormously. And that's a common technique. So now we've got all kinds of things where product contributed modules are able to publish to content delivery networks. We wrote all kinds of new stream wrappers and file handlers in Drupal 7 so that we can write out to these content delivery or media platforms from Drupal 7 that allows us to take advantage of these internet scale services. One of the things I like to do, I had a meeting at IBM a couple years after I left, and I went back to them and I said, basically IBM had taught me how to build, my goal coming to Drupalcamp was go build a $100 million business in a $1 billion market, right? That was what a real business was from IBM's perspective. And I went back to them a couple years later and said, I've got this Drupal thing, I think it's really hot, I think we can really take it, what do we need to do for Drupal? And they sat me down and they said, you need to basically go and prove that Drupal can operate in 6 different industries on 5 different continents. And if you can tell that story of success, you've got a platform, a global platform, okay? And so where I spend my time, I look at what's the biggest, best known nonprofits in the world? Amnesty International, right? And then there's 60 or more. I keep these wiki pages all over groups.drupal.org where I get people to update them to prove that we're strong in nonprofits. Then we go to schools, right? We say education, how are we doing there? And you look at Harvard, and Harvard's launching 50, 100 plus sites. They've actually got their own distribution now called Open Scholar. Go to Stanford, they've got several hundred sites. Go to Berkeley, they've got hundreds of sites. Go to SFSU, they've got hundreds of sites. I actually go out and I run these camps on these campuses just to drive momentum in the education space. So we've got nonprofits, we've got education, we've got examiner.com, we've got economist.com, so now we're solid in the publishing industry. Lots of newspaper chains are starting to move all their smaller magazines wholesale onto Drupal. So we're great in publishing. In media, the Lullabot folks and others had helped move Sony Music, Warner Brothers, what's the other big music label? Universal? They're looking at moving to Drupal wholesale. We've got, Fox News is deploying a lot of Drupal. We've got the movie studios are deploying a lot of Drupal. Teresa and I were having coffee in New York 8 days ago. We went into the local coffee shop. We bumped into the guy from NBC Universal. He said, "Hey, are you Dries?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, great." And he said, basically, we're going to, put out an order of magnitude more sites in Drupal, and they're basically overseeing this wholesale migration. We were at Turner Broadcasting and basically helped them basically standardize platforms. They basically independently built there's about 9 different Drupal sites: Cartoon Network, CNN Go, some other travel sites for these individual TV shows, and they basically said, okay, that's it, we're standardizing on Drupal. Every single TV show under Turner Broadcasting that's less than 5 million pages per month is migrating over to Drupal. And then we'll talk about moving the 400 million page view CNN to Drupal potentially in the future. Okay. And that's what we're seeing. So we've got 4 industries right there. So what's the next industry? The next industry is government. So we've got 68 national governments doing Drupal. We've got 55 federal sites. We're starting to see more sites. Andrew Hoppin, former business partner of mine, founder of Civic Space, he basically won the State CIO of the Year award for his deployment of the New York State Senate. It's one of the most impressive citizen engagement platforms. He's open sourced the whole platform, and he's walking around all the states trying to convince them to move it. So now we're on our 5th industry. We've got government. Where's our 6th industry? It's healthcare, right? Florida hospitals, big hospital, one of the largest hospital chains in the United States, moved all of their platforms, or are in the process of moving all of their web platforms. And this is what's really compelling. It's not just their internet sites, but their intranet sites, right? So they're using one platform, they're going outside, they're going inside, they're doing collaboration, they're doing information, and they're standing as Drupal. We're seeing all the big universities start, teaching hospitals to move over to Drupal. We've got some of the biggest healthcare companies out there. I've worked directly and helped with at least three of the big healthcare insurers to move over to Drupal. This is where it is. We're just at the tip of this momentum now, where we've got the leaders in all 6 of these industries, right? The biggest brands, the highest risk. What we need you guys to do is to know this stuff, get right behind us, and basically say, if the number 1 and number 2 in each of these industries has gone Drupal, we're going to get right behind you, and we're going to push 3, 4, 5, 6, 100. Let's get the top 200 in these industries. And we will go long, and we will go far, and we will go deep, because we can do everything with Drupal in a real meaningful way. And then we will see such a massive investment in Drupal that the project will explode. And we'll be able to take that stuff, we'll move it down, and we can democratize the internet. We can make it so that every person who's ever been oppressed, every person who's ever got a statement to say, people who are under incredible amounts of duress, they can use Drupal, they can build the best sites in the world, and they can make a huge difference in the world. And then the project really makes sense, and we'll have a lot of fun doing it. Okay, Economist, InfoWorld, the White House, and opensource.com. It just keeps going. So. You work really hard on lots of stuff for a long time, but you got to do it fundamentally for the right reasons at the end of the day. It's nice to make money, and it's nice to win over these enterprises, but at the end of the day, you got to do it because of people. You got to build a great community and make it happen. So if you got some questions, I'll take them now. If you want to follow up on me, I'm happy to give you any of the information you need to make Drupal succeed in the enterprise. We've got the solid decks. We can answer any of the technical questions. We can put the marketing spin on that your organizations need. We can prove the ROI is out there. To move to Drupal, but we've got some really tough competition. There are a lot of organizations that are moving in our space. We've got a lot of people who don't want to see us succeed, but if we all work together and share this information, I'm confident we'll make it happen. So here's the Drupal world domination. Questions? Cool. Yeah. Sure. So we go to acquia.com/resources. There's a white paper there about Florida hospitals. Next week, not next week, but the week after, on November 30th, we're going to have HealthNet, one of the largest health insurance providers in the United States, to do about $4 billion a year, and Florida hospitals will both be speaking in Chicago at the Drupal Business Summit. And I'm keeping a wiki page of all the healthcare organizations that are switching over to Drupal, and we're trying to segment them out between traditional healthcare organizations and R&D, who's doing pharma, who's doing drugs, who's doing genetics and stuff like that, to show how both of those industry movements are going. Yeah.
Specific question about roles and permissions.
Yep.
Do you know if for any speaks with integrating Active Directory?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a very common scenario that people want to know about. So they basically say, we're going to keep one central repository for all of our organizational, what's called an organizational units. We mapped in LDAP, we mapped in Active Directory. And they want to know that if they effectively terminate an employee in the Active Directory, that it's going to sync up, right? So a common deployment is Drupal Commons. They basically want, if you're in the IT group, you're in this group, this organic group, and it's mapped through LDAP. And then basically if they update that or they delete the group or whatever. I was at the National Institute of Standards and Technology on Friday. They just underwent a massive reorg, and they basically moved from 8 groups to 3 groups, and with 3 subheadings. And when they did it, a huge number of their applications broke because they were all mapped and they weren't flexible, and they didn't have the real-time connection to their LDAP and their instruction directory. So most of their stuff just stopped working. So being able to sync up on that central thing is absolutely business critical.
So when you're having that conversation, do you get any pushback about like LDAP or Active Directory integration being something that comes from the trip land?
Absolutely.
Versus something that comes from the vetted org?
Absolutely. It's a big issue, right? It's a big issue. And then, it sucks when you got to tell people, oh, that's in beta. Right? Or, oh, that module just happens to have 960 issues filed against it. Right? And so you'll see the analysts will go out and you can read the analyst reports and they'll go, there's LDAP support, but it's not really mature, therefore Drupal's not ready for the enterprise, because the lead developer on that doesn't want to move it out of beta. Right? And this is a big, big problem for us. And that means that you in this room have to commit to getting these pieces like LDAP working. You've got to put time in your budgets.